Hey everyone, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm finally going to be showing you guys the process of me moving in to my new bullet journal. I briefly mentioned in one of my last videos that I was running out of space in my current bullet journal, my 2018 one. This baby has been through a lot. We've done a lot of good things together, but there's only a couple pages left, so it's pretty much just going to take me until the end of August, and I'm going to need a new notebook for September. A lot of you guys in the comments said you wanted to see this video, and I did actually think that it might be helpful for you guys to see the whole journey of me transitioning into the new notebook and what I moved over and how I did it, and my whole thought process during the transition. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Hopefully this helps you out. Maybe some of you guys are running out of space in your bullet journal soon as well. So anyways, I'm sure you guys get the point, so let's get started. Alright, so for me, starting a brand new bullet journal and notebook was a little bit daunting at first, and I was kind of overwhelmed. So I thought, of course, the best way for me to condense all of my thoughts and ideas in my head would be to put it down into a bullet journal spread. Actually, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, I'm going to be calling the filled up journal the old journal, and then the blank new journal the new journal, just as a heads up. So in the old journal, I made a spread where I could kind of plan out my move into the next bullet journal. This isn't my idea, by the way. I'm gonna link a couple videos that I watched about migrating into a new bullet journal. I wanted to watch a couple videos and see what other people did, because last year I actually didn't have to start a new notebook midway through the year. I kind of just added a couple pages on the end of the notebook, and I was able to use one notebook throughout the entire year. But this year, it was definitely not possible. We're already in August and I was filled up, so I was like, you know, we still have 4 months left, might as well start a new notebook. So for my page, I have a couple different sections. The first section I have is spreads that I want to keep. So these are spreads that I'm going to be transitioning and copying over into my new journal. And then I also have a spreads that I want to leave behind, so basically stuff that I don't want to bring into my new journal. And then I also had some spread ideas, so stuff that I wanted to add. And in order to curate this list, I basically just flipped through the old journal, especially the beginning pages, because those are pretty much the ones that you're going to want to be transferring over into the new journal. Obviously, you're not going to be transferring all of the monthly pages, but the beginning yearly stuff, that's what I was mostly concerned about. So I flipped through every single page and basically wrote down a list of what I wanted to keep when I was moving, what I wanted to leave, and then maybe as I was going through it, I was like, you know what, this spread would be a good thing to have. So I put that in the spreads that I wanted to add list. And it was a nice way for me to have a little bit of a game plan so that when I was going into the new journal, I wasn't just completely going into it blind. I also had a what's working and what's not working section on the bottom of this spread. It's very similar to the spreads to keep and the spreads to leave, but more of like fully formed ideas of things that I want to change up in my new journal, whether that's the actual spreads or something during the monthly spreads, things that I want to, you know, take with me into this fresh start. So once I had all of my lists and my game plan, that's when I cracked open the brand new journal and I was ready to get started. By the way, the new journal that I'm using is exactly the same as the old one. I'm very much so a perfectionist, so I didn't want to like switch notebooks midway through a year. I don't know, I'm just weird like that. I have weird quirks where I'm like, it has to be the same every year, and you'll see that throughout the video as well, because I do also try to keep a consistent style with the old journal. I didn't want to make it seem like a brand new, you know, 2019 bullet journal setup. I did want to make sure that there was some consistency between the two. So I had my old journal open in front of me next to the new journal, that way I could reference both the list that I made as well as the older pages. And I started out, of course, with the key and the front cover page where you have to write your name and all of that stuff. But I also wanted to, you know, transfer over the quote. The quote that I had in my old journal was all about the new year and new chances, and it was all about 2018, but obviously since we're midway through the year, I don't know if that's as applicable for the new journal, so I decided on a quote that says, "Trust the magic of new beginnings," because I feel like this journal is kind of a new beginning. It's like a little bit of a fresh start. And once I had that page, I also wanted to keep my 2018 at a glance. So in the old journal, obviously that one was from January to December, but in this one, I don't really need the older months, so I started it in August and then I went to September of 2019. And that way I can have a place for me to see any dates way far in advance, and it's a good landing page for the very beginning of the bullet journal. As I mentioned earlier, and as you can probably tell, the style is very similar to the old journal. I did switch up a couple different fonts and lettering styles, but again, wanted to make it kind of consistent with the old journal. So the next page in my old journal was my index, but as I was flipping through and making my list of what was working and what was not working, it was immediately clear to me when I opened up to my index that I was really not using my index all that much. I know you're supposed to, but I never really filled it in, and in the old journal I had 2 full pages for it, and pretty much 1.5 of those pages was completely empty. So I knew I didn't need a full 2 pages for the index, especially because this journal was going to be for 4 months only. So I decided to change it up and only do 1 page, and I think that should be plenty enough for me. And I don't know why I don't really use my index all that much. I am a little bit weird in that I can kind of remember the order of my bullet journal just because when I write something down I have like memory of it, so my index is in my head. Doing changes like these is kind of why it's important to make a plan and a list beforehand, because you're not going to be going page by page verbatim as the old journal, so it could be handy to outline all the pages so you know what order they're going to go in, how many pages you want to leave for each specific spread, and that way you can kind of map it out beforehand. So because I knew I was going to be changing my index into a single page, I knew I was going to have an empty page next to it, and I thought that a good spread to add next to it was this grid spacing guide. I don't know if it's like this for anyone else, but no matter how much I bullet journal, like I've been bullet journaling for almost 2 years now, I still can't remember the number of dots from like vertical and horizontal. So every time I make a spread, I have to recount and redivide it up, especially for weekly spreads when I have to like divide it into half or thirds. So this little guide is going to help me out, and I can kind of just look at it and see that, oh, okay, half of a page is 13 dot spaces and half of a page vertical wise is about 18 or 19. And I also drew lines for guides so that I could see, let's say I want to split it up into 4, you can kind of see that. And yeah, I think the spread is actually going to be quite useful and quite handy, and I'm really excited for it. In my old journal, the next spreads were my future logs and my monthly overviews, and as you can see, I kind of squeezed 6 months vertically into a double page spread. But obviously in my new journal, I didn't need to fit as many months, so I decided to opt for a larger layout. The months have larger calendars and it's horizontal, so the events and appointments are going to go next to the calendar rather than below it. I really like the way it turned out. It gives me a little bit more visual space, but it still kind of matches the style of the old journal. One of the spreads that I decided to take out and change quite a lot from my old journal was the 2018 goals page, as well as the memories page. For the 2018 goals page, I think it was more of a beginning of the year thing for me to set New Year's resolutions and, you know, set my goals for the beginning of the year, but I don't think I need to do goals for the last 4 months of the year, especially because I've started to incorporate that into my monthly spreads and doing like monthly goal pages. So completely took that one out. And in terms of the memories pages, you'll see what I did with that later. Next up, something that I did want to transfer over was my YouTube video ideas list. Obviously, there's a running list of videos that I want to make, and I wanted to transfer some of those ideas over into my new journal. And basically, I went in later on and transferred over the ideas that I hadn't made already. In my old journal, next to it, I had my YouTube growth tracker, and this was meant to be like an overall landmark tracker, but it was really hard for me to keep up with it and to remember to go back into it whenever I hit a landmark, especially because I do have little mini monthly growth trackers in every single monthly spread, so I didn't think this was necessary, so I completely took that out in my new journal. Going off of that, I also took out my Instagram growth tracker. Similar to the YouTube tracker, I didn't really find that I was going to it every time I hit a landmark, and it was really hard for me to remember to keep track of that. I also didn't really think it was that healthy to be like constantly counting your followers. It's always good to like celebrate landmarks and everything, but having this constant method of tracking would kind of be forcing yourself to always pay attention to the numbers, which isn't important, obviously. So instead, in the new journal, what I decided to add was my Instagram Doodles idea page. I always do like little doodles on my Instagram for important events, like I did one for the royal wedding and the Met Gala and all of that. So I thought it would be a good idea for me to have a little brainstorm page where I can put my ideas of Instagram doodles that I want to create eventually. A spread that was definitely well loved and that I for sure wanted to transfer over into my new journal was the I want to watch page. So it was my list of movies and TV shows that I wanted to check out during the year. So I transferred that over into the new journal, but I did change it to a stuff to check out page, and I divided it into movies, TV shows, podcasts, and books because I found that I was missing a place for me to put a list of like the podcasts I wanted to listen to and the books that I want to read, especially because I'm such a big podcast person. So now that I have this little area to jot down stuff whenever people give me suggestions, I'm super excited to like transfer everything over. This is like probably one of my favorite pages in my old bullet journal because I've checked off a lot of stuff and I have a lot of stuff that I'm really excited to get to. So the next page is something that I didn't actually have in my old journal and I added it. It's a recipes to make page. So I love cooking, even though I hardly ever do it, but whenever I do get a chance to do it, I always like to try something new. Whenever I'm scrolling through Pinterest, I always see these beautiful meals that look so yummy and delicious, and I'm always like, I should make that. And I obviously always throw it into a Pinterest board, but I tend to forget about it. So I wanted to have a place where I can write down the recipes that I want to make eventually. So this is the last spread that I transferred over for my beginning monthly pages, and it's kind of a revamped 2018 memories page. So in my old bullet journal, I had a spread that was my year in Polaroids spread, and it was my absolute favorite thing ever. I loved doing it every single month. They kind of forced me to use my Polaroid camera more, and I also love the idea of just having like a visual overview of what has happened in these past couple of months. It's kind of like a photo album. So I knew I definitely wanted to transfer that over into the new journal, but obviously I only have 4 months left, so I didn't need a full double page spread. So I have September, October, November, and December. I can't wait to fill those up with new Polaroid memories. Since I didn't have to make the Polaroid spread a double page, I had this empty page next to it, which I thought would be the perfect place to transfer over the places I've been spread from my 2018 memories spread in the old journal. It was kind of just a running list of places that I traveled to and went to this year. I actually changed it up and did more of a chart style. So I have a destination of the dates that I traveled, and then I wanted to leave space for a favorite memory from that trip, so that whenever I finish a trip, I'll just write down my favorite memory, and then at the end of the year, I can look back to it and see all of the places that I've been to and remember all of the fun things that I did at those specific places. So I'm really excited for this memories page. I feel like it's a good way to kind of, end off these beginning pages and start a new month. Right after this, September is probably going to happen, unless I think of something else I want to add. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. We are officially transitioned and transferred into the new journal. Can't wait to make some new spreads in this guy. It's like a fresh start. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it wasn't anything crazy because the spreads were pretty similar to my old journal, but I thought it might be helpful for you guys to hear my thought process when I was moving everything over anyways. If you guys are craving any more bullet journal inspiration, be sure to go follow me over on my Instagram at Doodles. Hit that subscribe button down below, the bell button, all of that jazz. You guys know the deal. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up now. So keep doodling everyone, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye guys.